Am I? I don't know.
Bullying can happen to anyone, but when it's happening to you, sometimes it can feel like it's never going to end. However, the good news is it usually does. That doesn't mean that when bullying's over, though, that you don't still feel the after effects and it doesn't still hurt. So, Dina, what do you think are some of those after effects of bullying?
I mean, you could start feeling more anxious about the smallest of things, just everyday life. You could have very low self-esteem, find it difficult to talk to people, make new friends. The smallest of things can become like the biggest trial for you. Something that you might think is absolutely minute, but for me, just like answering the phone was incredibly not going to happen that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that goes to show that even though people might say, oh, what's wrong? You're not being bullied anymore. It's fine now. That doesn't mean there aren't these things that still, you don't forget that experience for a while. You know, it stays with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think for anybody who's been bullied, they'll all agree that it definitely affects them, you know, even years later. Even if they seem confident at the time, there are some things that person is dealing with that nobody knows about. Like, for example, not being able to answer the phone, you know. But it might be because, you know, you've got a fear of talking to somebody new and it's just via a phone rather than face to face, you know, or rather than to a camera even.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, for example, you might not be getting, let's say, physically bullied, but you could be getting verbally bullied. And well, for me, that's what most of my high school life was, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But when you think back to waking up every morning, how you felt to be going to school that day, overall, I felt okay to go to school, but there'd be this one lesson where that bully was that I'm completely dreading and it's ruining my whole day because I've got to go to this lesson because of that bully who'll just make 2 or 3 comments. The last 10 seconds, but it ruins your whole day, you know? And if that goes on for years and years and years, it can affect you. It really does knock you down. And forget even knocking you down, it just ruins your day.
Yeah.
That's just unfair, you know?
So when that bullying was happened to you, how did you deal with it?
And what I used to do is, I'd get, they try and push my buttons with words, maybe a bit of shoving around, but never actually getting too physical. But for me anyway, you know, I'd try and reply with like a sarcastic answer, make them feel a bit stupid, you know, make them feel a little bit like, oh, you really are childish, aren't you? You know what I mean? Like, for what you're doing. And then they'll either back down, or it could get worse. If it gets worse, that's when you need to talk to an adult, like a teacher or somebody at home that you trust, somebody that is 100% going to help you out and you are 100% comfortable in telling.
You mentioned using a bit of sarcasm or telling it how it was to the bully. I mean, so that's one way I think you can deal with some of that sort of abuse, is sort of try and...
Especially if you're getting, you know, abuse online.
Yeah.
You know, I get lots of abuse online being a YouTuber, obviously.
Yeah.
And I've read hate comments before. And it is a hilarious video when you do that.
Yeah.
And then so all of a sudden you've got this community as well that's laughing at this comment, which is essentially a bully behind the scenes, like that, on the keyboard. And then all of a sudden it doesn't matter anymore because everybody's just laughing at how funny it is, right?
If you're still struggling to build up your self-esteem after bullying, what other things can you do you think, to make things better?
I think it's important to indulge yourself in something that you really enjoy. You know, if you're a creative person, like, I don't know, let's say you're really into makeup. Makeup is a form of art, if you ask me. Then get stuck into it. Keep yourself busy. Don't give yourself time to sit there and dwell. The people that cause that shouldn't matter to you. They're not important enough to rule the rest of your life. You know what I mean?
But sometimes bullying can be so severe that it can really have a very deep impact on a person. I
mean, I think if the bullying that you've experienced really has a lasting effect on you and it's really affecting how you live your life now, as well as the people around you, then that's when you need to, you know, make that decision to seek professional help. So take a visit to your GP, try and get some therapy.
And if you're not happy with the first doctor you go to see, you can always request to see another doctor. Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're affected by bullying, sometimes you get the feeling that you might want to help others who experience bullying, and that can be a really good way of dealing with those after effects, because you're channeling all that negativity into something really positive. And obviously there's things like Anti-Bullying Week where everyone's able to shout about it, and that's a really good thing to be involved with as well. What would you think is a good idea if you wanted to help other people that are being bullied?
I think, you know, there's probably a lot of projects going on in your community centres, in your school, where you can get involved. And I think you'll find that if you do get stuck into helping people that have been through something that you have, it's again another form of therapy for you, because you've turned something negative into a positive by helping everybody. And then hopefully, you know, we want to stop bullying, right?
We do.
So the more people that get involved in things that are anti-bullying, the more we're going to combat it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming to see us and talking about bullying, Dina.
It's okay. It's been my pleasure.
Brilliant. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.